Alright guys, this video is for the G-body guy that has a G-body that wanted the factory power trunk release set up in his G-body. So if your car did not come with the electronic trunk release from the factory, there's something you're going to need to know. So this is the trunk latch that actually bolts to your trunk lid. If you'll notice, it has a little tab right here. You'll have to fold this over with a little flat screwdriver, just get up under there and then pull it out, peel it over, and fold it flat against that to where it looks like that. You'll notice that tab is folded over there. Now you could cut it off if you wanted with a little cut-off wheel or something. But anyway, so you'll fold that over. Now you'll get your trunk popper solenoid thing right here. Now if you'll notice, it has a little hook right here. And it has a hole right here for your mounting. So on your trunk latch, on the side right there, you'll see this little square notch, little cutout right there. That's where that square notch there hooks into, just like that. So it'll sit in there like that, and then you just basically lay it over, and you'll have to put your bolt in right there. So in my case, I got all this set up off of eBay, and it was missing the hardware. So it's not the end of the world. Now it takes a pretty funky screw or bolt. This will take a 13mm socket, and it has that wild, really coarse threading on it. It's almost like I'd say it's probably close to a 5/16, like a self-driller type of screw. Anyway, this one, mine didn't come with it. Now it'll take one just like this, but it's shorter from the factory. This one is actually out of a parts car I have here. This is out of the chassis. Now it has where your brake lines and your fuel lines bolt to your chassis on their little brake line clamps. That's what hold the brake lines and fuel lines to your chassis is these. They're all over their chassis, so you can go to a salvage and get one of these if you need to out of that. Now it is a little longer, but it doesn't interfere with anything, so it does work. So that bolt actually goes in here. And you basically tighten it down so your solenoid's mounted. Now, if you can get your wiring harness with it, you got to do a little more work. In my case, I got the wiring harness, but the guy cut the harness. He cut the wire. Instead of pulling the sill plate, pulling it all together, he cut the wire. Not the end of the world. I can put a barrel connector in it and splice it back together. Now your button, your electronic trunk release button, make sure you get the little bracket for it. Now in your dash, when you open your glove box and you look up under there, it'd probably be easier to take your glove box out of the car. If you look under there, there's a bigger hole in that glove box in the plastic, basically the structure of the dash. Anyway, this will go up above it, and your screw will go through the dash into that. This is, drilled and threaded basically. All it takes, you can use any number 8 screw, Phillips head or whatever. Now from the factory, it would take, I just dropped that. It would take this style, which is it takes like a 7mm socket or a 9/32 socket. These are the same type of screws that would be in like holding your HVAC control unit in your dash. It has the 2 screws on each side, or if you pull your plastic wood grain looking panel off, you got your 4 in there holding your radio face piece in there. But anyway, you can use anything in there as long as it's number 8. Anyway, it goes to the left side. If you're looking at your glove box, it goes to the left side of the latch, just not very far from it. And again, the hole is already in your dash. You just need to run the screw through that hole in the dash, stick this up above it, and run it through. Now, the wiring harness from your fuse box to that is already in your dash. It will be taped up to your harness just above that. You'll have to get on there with a flashlight and look, but it'll be there. And it's good that it is there because it takes a pretty funky, I don't know if that's going to show up, but that is a pretty funky end terminals on that. Anyway, so you basically take the one out from the dash and you plug it into one side, and then the other side goes to your trunk popper in the trunk. In my case, I got the harness, so it has the specific little connector on it. Now, if you don't get the wiring harness with it, it's not a big deal. Now you can take, I was looking at this earlier, but these are shaped in the shape of an L, these terminals. So if you did not have that terminal, you could take tin snips or a little grinder or something, cut off wheel or whatever, and just cut the L off right there and cut down, you know, and up and over. Basically make it a male spade, and then you could just crimp on a female spade, a universal one, and slip it on there. So it's not the end of the world, it's just going to require a little bit more effort. So on the solenoid itself, that's where your wiring harness plugs in. And I know this is common knowledge to most G-body guys, but if you're, you know, new to the G-body community or whatever, and you're wanting an electronic trunk release, a factory style one, you see them on eBay. This, I'm just basically giving you the rundown. But it takes this style clear connector on the end, and it will basically snap in there like that. I'm not going to snap it right now. Now, that is just a male spade down in there, so you could use just a universal female spade crimped on your wire and stick it on here and be good to go. So you don't technically need the wiring harness, but you will have to modify one side of that button terminal on one side of that button to run it to the trunk if you had to. But in my case, I got the harness, but the guy cut it. So anyway, if you wanted, when you get it in, if you wanted to bench test it, make sure it works. I've never seen one of these bad. I know there's got to be some out there that's bad, but I've put a lot of them on my G-bodies, and I've never had one that's bad. So what you would have to do, in my case, I have a power probe. So you would take your alligator negative and crimp it to anywhere on the body of this, the steel body of this. And basically just stick it in there on the spade part. So mine works. Now if you didn't have a power probe, you could stick the main body on the negative post of the battery, just hold it on the negative battery post, take a piece of wire, hold it onto the positive and stick it on that. And it'll just pop, so you know it's working. But anyway, I hope that helps some of you guys out. Again, it's pretty common knowledge for a lot of guys that have G-body experience. They know this, but not, a lot of guys would not know to fold that tab over. So that's the main thing, and I just kind of want to run you through the hardware because I knew what kind of bolt it took, and I didn't get it with it, but I wondered if the fuel line bracket clamps would work, and they actually do. So that solved my dilemma right there. Anyway, guys, hope it helps you out, and that's the way you do a power trunk release on your G-body. Now, again, it will be, I don't know if I mentioned this, it will be ignition on for power to that. So anyway, if you put it all together and you're hitting the button and nothing's happening, turn your key on.